There's plenty to worry about in high school. Getting good grades, scoring high on the SAT, working after school, dating, peer pressure. When you suffer a trauma or loss at this age, you often have to put the pain aside to keep up with all the demands of just being this age. Where do you turn? Your friends? How about your parents and teachers? Sometimes you just want to give up and take a destructive path, like Erica, an intelligent young woman digging herself into a troubling hole.
Ta-da! That's what's great about science and about life itself. It's all a series of predictable reactions to a stimulus.
Usually, her profanity was muffled enough for the teacher not to notice. But this time, Mr. V was staring her down. Erica meant him to hear.
Even that was a predictable reaction to a stimulus. What happens in this world isn't predictable at all. Only most of the reactions and outcomes.
Like I said, that's...
A few minutes later, Erica was headed for the assistant principal's office. It wasn't the first time. What a difference between her primary school experience and high school. She was never sent to the office then. Now she was there all the time. She didn't really care and was numbed by the lectures.
Man, I never got called to the office in grade school. Now I'm here all the time. Well, who cares? What's another stupid lecture?
Erica, in every one of your classes, you learn about predictable outcomes from actions, like yellow and blue make green. The world isn't controllable, but it is pretty predictable. So are human reactions to stimulus. In class, I said something that you didn't agree with, and you let me know that indirectly by being belligerent, but cautious. It was pretty predictable, Erica. Maybe by working backwards, we might be able to define the stimulus.
Yeah, right.
Do you remember when we learned about Pavlov's dogs?
Yeah. The dogs had a bell rung when they ate, and then they started salivating at the bell.
Even when there was no food?
Right.
So they reacted inappropriately, but understandably. Get it?
So now you're saying I'm screwed up like those stupid dogs?
No. I'm saying you're perfect. Exactly the way you should be.
What?
Yep. Exactly. Predictably. Almost scientifically. What you should be. Perfect.
And you're insane.
Obviously something's bothering you. I'm not trained to handle whatever it is. It's really none of my business.
You got that right.
I agree. But that's not why I called you in here. I know you don't believe me, but a traumatic experience, a stressful event, or series of events change the way the brain works. The outcomes are as predictable as any other stimulus reaction pairing I was talking about.
Oh, so now I'm brain damaged.
No, but your reactions are predictable. You react with anger and self-protecting attacks, which shows me you've had some tough times.
So? Everyone has tough times. Who cares?
I care. Because the reactions you're using aren't appropriate. They may have saved you at one time, but they're not working for you now. What happens when a rabbit thinks a predator is approaching?
It freezes.
Right. It seems to know the predator can't pick it out from the background, so it freezes. It becomes invisible to save its own life. It works pretty well for a predator. But what happens when a car is approaching?
Roadkill.
Exactly. The rabbit only knows one response to a stressful situation. It saved his life many times. But since he can't change his pattern of behavior, or realize that behavior even exists, it certainly isn't appropriate when a car is approaching.
So now I'm a rabbit.
No. But you're behaving like one. You've developed a pattern of response that seems to be the only one you know. Somehow it's worked for you before. But you're not in danger in my classroom. You're safe. But you're using your old response. You don't even think about it. So it's like you're a rabbit freezing in the headlights of an oncoming car. Erica, a rabbit can't judge its patterns and reactions and learn to do things differently. But you can.
You don't know me.
No, but I know reactions and responses. I know your angry attacks are learned behavior designed to protect you. It makes sense to you.
Well, if I'm so perfect, what am I doing here?
Erica, humans have a lot of standard reactions and responses to bad stimuli. And in scary times, they can either shut down like a rabbit or attack. Their brains learn behavior and tend to repeat what's worked in the past. They try to use it as an answer for every problem, even though the problems are different. That's what you did, and why you're here.
Well, how many detentions do I have to serve for acting like a rabbit? Okay. How many days for cussing in class and insubordination?
I don't know. Do you have any idea?
It's 10, because this isn't my first time.
Well, the detentions don't seem to be changing much. Why don't you give me 10 responses instead?
What do you mean?
I want you to write a list of 10 possible human responses to a bad situation. Make them understandable and logical for an original situation, but show how they're harmful if you repeat them for every stressful situation you face.
We don't really know what kind of trauma Erica has had to deal with, but we know she's dealing with something that causes her to react negatively to the stimuli around her. Language arts projects like writing and storytelling are positive classroom exercises that may help students with similar life experiences.
If the traumatic loss or the traumatic event involved family, a parent dies, car accident, breast cancer, murder, the impact at home is going to make the one safe place be school, because everybody else at home is also dealing with trauma. So the ability of those adults to step up and really help the child is going to be compromised, which means that it's much more likely that they're going to have a hard time holding it together at school. So they're probably going to have a hard time at school. They won't be able to concentrate as well. Their capacity to stay up with the content will be diminished. A general rule of thumb is that after a significantly traumatic experience, a child can probably academically master the content of a regular academic school year in about 18 months. So they're going to be slower, which means that you want to make some modifications in homework and tests. And I mean, it's a funny thing. You can test them on a lot of the same content, but instead of having 25 questions, grade them on the questions that they finish, and let them know that, listen, if you get 10 done, great. We'll see what your score is out of 10, as opposed to out of 25, because they get slower. I mean, one of the things that happens with trauma is that dealing with trauma and the post-traumatic response is that your brain is inefficient cognitively. So it takes you longer to acquire new information, it takes you longer to retrieve stored information, and you tend to be much more distractible. And you can look sort of like an ADHD child.
Imagine you're Erica. How would you communicate what's going on in your life? Would you tell a story, write a song, or just say something nasty in class?